Good morning and afternoon. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Welcome all to the Sharing Show. I'm Kane, and today I'm joined with David, better known as the Workday Sharing Guy, Logan, Teresa, and Mike also joining us, co-hosting this episode. Also, we have a lot of special guests.
Thank you, Kane. Can you tell us the most important thing about the Zoom chat?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Logan. So the most important thing is we would love you all to interact with all of the panelists on the show today. So when you're using chat, make sure you message to all panelists and all attendees so everybody can see the message, everyone can share, everyone can be interactive. With that being said, I think it's ready to get started. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Kane. So what I'd like everyone to do right now is just test your chat quickly by answering with your experience using Workday Recruiting. If you've used Workday Recruiting, type yes. If you haven't, type no. If you'd like more help with it, type help. Thanks so much. Introduce Mike. Welcome, Mike. He's one of our co-hosts today, and we're happy to have you.
Hi, everybody. I am Mike. Thank you so much, Logan. I have 4 years of Workday experience. I actually started as a recruiting software integration person and moved over to a couple of customers. I'm on my second Workday customer now. I do have a private blog, and in addition to Workday recruiting, I also focus on integrations, compensation, and talent. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike. And we are happy to have you. And so first I'd like to tell you before we get into our show about our next 3 shows. We are going to be looking at financials and then Workday Extend. We have a tentative June 24 for dashboard. And after that, we're looking to see what theme you would like to see on the Sharing Show. So if you'd like to co-host, thesharingshow.com. So make sure you check that out and you can let us know what your theme ideas are and what you'd like to co-host for. And now we'd like to go back to Mike and tell us all about recruiting basics.
Thank you so much, Logan. Love to see the chat, and lots of people mentioned that they didn't have any experience with Workday recruiting. So wanted to do just a really quick overview of the best part, what I think the best part of Workday recruiting is. And if you think about Workday recruiting, I like to think about those books during the 80s that everybody used to have called the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I have a picture of one right there on the slide. Workday, unlike many other recruiting programs, allows you to really focus on these 8 sub-processes and move them in any which direction, or use them or not use them, and so you please. Not everybody has the same recruiting workflow, obviously. Lots of different companies do different things, and Workday allows you that flexibility by even sometimes choosing some of those sub-processes to go more than once. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. What do we have next on our agenda?
Up next, we have Jessica from Florida.
Hey, Jessica. When I posted the Sharing Show post, we had a lot of activity, which was great, but I wanted to make sure that you had your ask put up on the Sharing Show as well.
Thank you so much. Yes, we used the platform on Community from the Sharing Show to have our ask. We got a lot of different answers that we're going to try back in our tenant configuration. Our ask was around how to handle job postings that we want to be internal postings, but we really don't want anyone else to see them, as we have a candidate pool that we want to send the links to, but we don't want to post for searching. So it's kind of a very specific recruiting need, and we got lots of different ideas from different posts. So I'd like to thank everyone for contributing.
Thanks, everybody, and make sure that all keep those asks going on in the chat as well.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. And what do we have next?
Next, we have Olivia from Florida.
Hi. So I had a question. We're kind of wondering how other people handled posting in multiple locations. Workday will allow you to post your job in multiple locations, and you can search for it on their site, but a lot of job boards such as Indeed will only kind of pull on scrapes the primary posting locations. So I was kind of wondering how people manage that to kind of still maintain accurate candidate metrics. So in the next slide, I have just kind of what we're trying to do. It's a little cumbersome, so I didn't know if anybody had any better ideas. So what we are kind of working towards is creating multiple evergreen locations and having one designated as the master. So if somebody applies to those other locations or other evergreens in the different locations, it would be immediately moved to that master for all the movement so that we can track the time to fill and all of that within one rec with the link. So I didn't know how other people, if they had any better ideas.
Thanks so much for that that ask. Please put some comments in the chat as well. Love to hear everybody's comments. One of the things that we used to do and what I'm doing at my current organization is that we're pushing those partners to really help us with those multiple job postings because it's becoming more of the norm and not the exception.
And so what we are looking at next on the agenda, we are going to do who do we have next? Teresa, that's you.
Thank you, Logan. Yes, for our Skills Cloud for recruiting, we're actually going to go back to Mike, our co-host.
Thanks, Teresa. We did have an ask for anyone who's enabled Skills Cloud. Please let us know if it's had an impact on the sourcing activities for candidates.
You know, it's great when we have people send in questions. So some of you might want to co-host. Some of you might just want to share or ask. And some of you just might want to send something in. So if you have something you want to talk about, always send it in. When we get everyone interacting in the chat, it's really helpful to have all these different ideas. That's what the sharing show is about, sharing. What do we have up next?
Next, we go back to Mike again.
So another anonymous ask that we got, somebody who works for a large healthcare organization, and the recruiters have a really hard time reviewing applicants that have applied for multiple positions and why they were not previously selected in those other positions. So the ask really is how do companies review applicants who've applied to multiple positions and they didn't actually select those candidates before? I have a little bit of a share with this one that I'll put out there. We use the CRM. A lot of the times we do is we keep that information out there. Maybe if somebody's a silver medalist candidate, we might tag them as a silver medalist candidate, also still market to that person. We do keep a listing of those candidates that we definitely want to communicate with on a later basis, whether or not they're silver medalist candidates. I actually have an ask myself that's not recruiting related. So I know that this is a recruiting related show, but thank you all so much for indulging me on this non-recruiting related ask. My ask is around calibration. If you happen to be part of a large organization or an organization that has a lot of movement, would love to hear if you also have calibration, how you're kind of handling that organization movement during your calibration sessions. And thank you so much. It looks like that there's a lot of activity in chat right now as well. So thank you so much for all that feedback and those comments.
That's great. I love seeing that movement in the chat. Mike, how large is large? When you look at a large company, what are we talking?
I would say over 10,000 employees. I think when it gets a little bit smaller than that, the movement might be less, but my current organization, we have tons of movement. So it's really kind of hard to get the calibration around. So definitely like to hear anybody's feedback on that.
Thanks so much, Mike. And what do we have next on the agenda?
Next, we go to Arik from Israel.
Hi all. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you. So what I want to share today is basically a situation we've been through building an integration in recruiting. And what we noticed is that obviously a lot of companies use custom roles in assignment to requisition. We all know that relates to the fact that you cannot edit every person assigned after the rec was already created. And so what we wanted to know is who else is assigned to a specific recruiter-like position and when they were last updated. And so we went into a bit of a calculated fields exploration. I'll cover two calculated fields in this. The first calculated field is showing who the recruiter is. And again, this is not the primary recruiter, but we'll actually use a custom role here. And the second one will show us when they were actually last updated and assigned to the requisition. So the first one is simple, kind of one depth calculated field. We're looking up the Lookup organizational roles, which is not used often in a lot of different situations, but in here it actually does the work entirely. So we're looking up at this job requisition object. Then we're going to be taking the primary recruitment partner. That's the name I chose for this custom role for the example. So this gets us the person, right? It will actually return a worker object for the custom report. The second field is actually, we're going to go deeper because we're going to have a few levels of calculated fields here. We're starting, I call it a TFC to ESI to LRV, which is kind of a pattern you will see in a few different situations. And I want to start from the number one at the top. The first thing is we just create this condition that will allow us to identify role assignment objects, which is a main object we'll be working with, and only getting the assignments to the specific role that we're looking for, which here again is the primary recruitment partner. And obviously this condition can be slightly different take in a different custom role, eventually it will return a true-false value for the calculated field we're going to be using it with. So that's number one. Once we have that field, we're going to start using that field, and we're going to create another calculated field. We're going to extract a single instance because a requisition has a lot of role assignments. Any person who's been assigned to the requisition in any of the different roles will show up here. But we want actually a specific instance. We want the last instance, so you can see it's the last occurrence of the assignment that goes by the condition we defined. So we're going to take the last occurrence of assigning a recruiter for this requisition. There might have been a few different recruiters on the role. We're just going to get the last one. But we're still going to get an object. It's the role assignment object. And we're not looking for an object, we're looking for a date. And that's why we're going to add another layer on the calculated field, and that's the standard LRV, lookup related value, where we're going to just take one of the dates. In this case, I chose the last functionally updated date, but there's a few options that would suit the bill for this. So we're going to, again, build up on the last calculated field, pulling the date from that. And with these three calculated fields, we're going to get the last time a recruiter from this role has been assigned to the requisition. I hope it was interesting.
What a pattern that we see showing up so frequently as well. Thank you so much, Eric.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Eric, for sharing. It's nice to have different perspectives and different plan of attack. And what do we have next on the agenda?
Next, we have Jen from South Carolina.
Good afternoon. I'll be talking with you about machine learning for recruiting. It was first introduced with 2020 R1, which went to production 3.7. We implemented it 3.23. We saw a lot of value in the functionality for our external candidates and wanted to make it available to them as soon as we could. It's available in two primary areas. The first is dealing with suggested skills. This does require having the Skills Cloud enabled, an innovation services agreement, and a candidate home account for the user. It's available to external candidates only, and it is not dependent on having skills qualifications included in the job requisition itself. The next primary area is with suggested jobs. This also requires an innovation services agreement and a candidate home account for the user. Also available to external candidates only, and once enabled, it can take up to 24 hours to display the suggested jobs.
What were you trying to solve, Jen, when you were trying to do these two tasks, these two new features?
Our company overall is very interested in anything dealing with artificial intelligence, making the system smarter, bringing value to all of our users, whether internal or external, and reducing manual labor, reducing a manual workload. So we've been very interested in AI and the Workday Assistant, the little chatbot, and and anything along those lines. So I was really excited to hear about the machine learning for recruiting features being released. It completely meshed with everything that we were trying to do, and that along with Workday Assistant were the first two things that we implemented after 2020 R1 went into production.
Looks like one of the people is asking in the chat that is the same innovation services agreement needed for both, or do you need every time that you do one of these machine learning or AI things, do you need a new innovation services agreement?
No, there's only a blanket innovation services agreement. If your company has signed it, there are opt-ins available to you as part of the configuration. I'll give you a link for how to get to the configuration at the end of my bit. There is a single innovation services agreement that you sign. It involved lawyers and everything for us to sign into it, but it has offered a lot of different areas of functionality for us to explore. Next, I'd like to talk about a little bit deeper into suggested skills. You can use machine learning to provide external candidates with skill suggestions based on using the quick apply and resume parsing feature within the application. It does not work just for an attached resume later on in the application. The system will suggest up to 15 skills that are presented to external candidates in the skills prompt while they're applying, which allows them to view the skills and either retain or remove a suggested skill. Suggested skills will contain the annotation suggested within parentheses. Workday delivers prompt help text informing an external candidate why suggested skills have been added and what they can do with them. And if they accept the skill, the suggested annotation does not carry forward. In the summary view of their application, they'll just see the skills, and that's all that the recruiter or hiring manager will ever see. They won't know what was suggested and what the candidate entered manually. Next, turning to suggested jobs, we feel this improves the candidate experience and engagement by using machine learning to present external candidates with job suggestions. Only candidates that are signed in to their candidate home account and their external candidates signed into their candidate home account and have applied to at least one job will see suggested jobs. The system will suggest up to 5 external, and this should have said posted, job requisitions in each of 2 categories. First, based on jobs the candidate has applied to, and second, based on the candidate's experience. Here are a couple of screenshots. The first one shows what the skills piece looks like with the suggested annotation next to each one. They can just click the X to get rid of it or just leave it there and move on in the application, and that means they've accepted it. The next little snip is what the suggested jobs looks like. This candidate has applied to only a single job, and it's delivered 5 jobs based on jobs they've applied to and 5 jobs based on your experience. It does not repeat jobs in each of the 2 sections, and it will not present jobs that the candidate has either applied to or has a draft application for. Here's some resources. The first 2 items are the admin guide posts for how to set everything up. This gives you the configuration options and what you have to do about the Innovation Services Agreement opt-in. The next 2 are the What's New posts that were put out for suggested skills and suggested jobs. They're both really good. They both have videos. And I always recommend that people read the questions that other customers have posted afterward because you gain a lot of information.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jen. That is a lot of information to take in. If you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat and keep that conversation going. What do we have next on our agenda?
Next, we have Heidi from Minnesota.
Hey there, everyone. Good afternoon or morning, depending upon where you're at. At my company, we recently launched Phenom People as our CRM platform, as well as an updated career site. And so I wanted to walk you through for just a few minutes about the candidate experience and how that works between Workday and Phenom People. So we use our CRM as really above the funnel. It's a system of engagement for candidates. It's how we would send emails that are branded, how we would look at leads or partial applicants. On the Workday side, it's meant to be our system of record. It's where job recs are opened, dispositioning is done, job offers are made. So we're really differentiating between what our CRM is doing and what Workday is doing. The data flows bidirectionally between the 2 systems. So if something is updated in the CRM, it goes to Workday. And if it's updated in Workday, it goes to the CRM. While it's not instant, it's about once an hour that data is updated between the 2 systems. So they're always feeding between each other. Our goal is to have our recruiters start moving more towards using the CRM and more towards Workday being really that system of record and CRM being where they would engage with candidates. On our website, just to give you an idea of how that works, when you come to the home page, you search for a job, and then you'll see that pharmacist part-time job. You click apply, and on the left-hand bottom screen, you'll see it doesn't actually take you into Workday. It's a Phenom apply process. While all the information and fields are fed from Workday, you apply on the career site. You never actually enter Workday to apply. You apply via the career site. Then the candidate will get an email asking them to set up a profile on Workday to check their job application status should they choose to want to do that. And then you'll see on the right-hand side in kind of that smaller boxes, because I was running out of room there, what that looks like in the CRM. So this would be a rec, and then you would see all the candidates, whether they've applied, partially applied, or even just clicked on the job. You could see what that looks like in the CRM. On the flip side, on the Workday side, you would only see those that have actually applied. So in the CRM, you can see much more interaction on that rec than you would see on the Workday side. And there's no really custom integrations needed. We just did the API calls. Phenom is a Workday partner.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. I see we have some questions in the chat, and I will get to that right now. We'd like to thank our co-sponsors. The first co-sponsor we'd like to thank is Phenom People. Phenom is a Workday certified select partner for candidate experience. Phenom uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to collect behavioral data and serve a hyper-personalized e-commerce-like career site to attract both active and passive candidates. Phenom also has built-in smart automation to nurture these candidates and get better insights on talent experience. Thank you, Phenom. And our next co-sponsor that we'd like to thank is GoodTime.io. GoodTime interview scheduling platform allows you to get the most of Workday recruiting by enabling recruiting teams to provide personalized, exceptional candidate experience at scale, improving hiring decisions, costs, and time to hire. Thank you, GoodTime. And of course, as always, we would like to thank Dovetail Software. Dovetail provides HR service delivery software that reduces the number of questions into HR by over 50%. Dovetail also provides emergency response management software that provides HR with tools to manage all coronavirus-related questions from employees. Dovetail is also tracking COVID-19 case volumes from HR teams globally. To learn more, please visit dovetailsoftware.com. Thank you so much, Dovetail. And for those of you who would like to see links to the themes and past episodes, notes, please visit thesharingshow.com.
Okay, well, that's been a fantastic show. Appreciate everyone for joining the show today. It's been a very large show, actually. Lots of guests, lots of attendees as well today. One of our highest numbers, I think. Special thank you to Mike for co-hosting today's show. I think you did an excellent job. David, Logan, and Teresa too. And special thank you, as always, to our guests on the show today as well for giving up their time and sharing with everyone. Please remember to head over to our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. And we will post this episode onto our YouTube channel this week as well, so you can see a repeat of it. That's all there's left to say. Everyone stay safe and well, and everyone have a great work day.